Arionne Curry's name has stayed connected to one of the most talked about stories surrounding the reality show Love and Marriage Huntsville. For years, viewers have discussed the complicated situation that involved Martell Holt, his former wife, Shari, and the relationship that later became public. The conversation has never really disappeared. Even now, fans continue to debate what really happened, who made the biggest mistakes, and how the choices of everyone involved changed their lives. Recently, a new topic started circulating online. People began talking about what some critics jokingly call the BMW era being over and the Buick era beginning. While the phrase sounds humorous, it reflects the way many fans interpret the shift in lifestyle and expectations that came out of this entire situation. When the relationship between Martell and Arionne first became public, it shocked many viewers of the show. At that time, Martell was still married to Melody. Their marriage had been presented on television as a strong partnership built on business, family, and shared goals. Together, they had built companies, raised children, and created a public image that looked successful from the outside. On screen, they appeared to be a couple that had everything together. But behind the cameras, the reality was very different. Over time, it became clear that their marriage was under serious pressure. Arguments began to appear more frequently on the show, and viewers noticed tension between them. At first, many fans thought the disagreements were just normal relationship problems. But when the news of Martell's long-term relationship with Arionne came out, everything suddenly made sense to viewers who had been watching closely. The revelation changed the entire conversation around their marriage. People began looking back at older episodes and wondering if the signs had been there all along. Moments that once seemed like ordinary disagreements suddenly looked very different. Viewers realized that there had been deeper problems happening behind the scenes that the audience did not fully understand at the time. Once the relationship became public knowledge, the reaction online was intense. Fans of the show had strong opinions, and social media quickly turned into a place where people shared their thoughts about the situation. Some people focused most of their criticism on Martell because he was the married person in the relationship. Others believed that Arionne also carried responsibility because the relationship continued for a long time. This is where the phrase, "not a victim, but a volunteer," started appearing in many online conversations. Critics used those words to explain their belief that Arionne knowingly entered a relationship with a married man. From their perspective, that meant she understood the situation and the possible consequences that could follow. Supporters of Arionne sometimes argued a different point of view. They suggested that relationships can be complicated and that people outside the marriage may not always know the full truth about what is happening inside it. According to that perspective, the responsibility still belonged mostly to the married partner. The debate quickly turned into one of the most discussed topics connected to Love and Marriage Huntsville. Every time new details appeared online or someone involved made a public statement, the conversation started again. Blogs, commentary channels, and fan pages all began analyzing the situation from different angles. Another phrase that started circulating during these discussions was the nickname air mattress. It was a harsh and sarcastic term used by critics who wanted to mock what they believed was an unstable situation. While many people felt the nickname went too far, it showed just how emotional the audience had become about the story. Reality television often creates strong reactions because viewers feel like they are watching real lives unfold. Even though the show is entertainment, the relationships and conflicts are real for the people involved. That emotional connection is what keeps audiences talking about these stories long after the episodes air. One of the most difficult parts of the situation for many viewers was watching Melody deal with everything in public. She had spent years building a life with Martell. They were not only married, but also business partners and parents. Their relationship had been part of the foundation of the show. When the truth about the affair became widely known, it placed Melody in an incredibly difficult position. Not only was she dealing with personal heartbreak, but she was also doing it while cameras were filming and while thousands of viewers were discussing the situation online. Despite that pressure, many fans admired the way Melody handled the situation. She focused on protecting her children and rebuilding her life. Instead of staying stuck in anger, she began concentrating on her career, her personal growth, and creating a future that did not depend on her past relationship. Over time, viewers saw a transformation in Melody. She became more focused on independence and self-confidence. In interviews and public appearances, she often spoke about knowing your worth and setting boundaries. For many people watching the show, her journey became a story of strength after betrayal. While Melody was moving forward, the conversation around Arionne continued to grow online. Every time something related to Martell appeared in the news or on social media, her name would appear in the discussion again. Supporters and critics continued debating her role in the entire situation. This is where the phrase BMW to Buick started appearing more frequently in commentary. The phrase was not meant to be taken literally. Instead, it was used symbolically by critics to describe what they believed was a downgrade in expectations compared to reality. In simple terms, the phrase suggested that the promises or dreams connected to the relationship did not lead to the glamorous outcome that some people may have imagined. Instead of a fairy tale ending, the situation resulted in controversy, public criticism, and years of attention from the media and fans. Of course, these phrases are opinions from commentators and viewers rather than confirmed facts, but they show how strongly people feel about the story. In the world of reality television, perception can sometimes become just as powerful as reality. Another reason the conversation stayed alive for so long was the way social media amplified every detail. Years ago, a private relationship might have stayed private. Today, however, every post, comment, or rumor can quickly spread across the internet. For Arionne, that meant living under constant public attention. Whether she posted something online or stayed silent, people interpreted her actions in different ways. Some viewers believed she was trying to control the narrative. Others thought she was simply responding to the attention surrounding her name. At the same time, Martell also faced heavy criticism. Many viewers believed he had damaged not only his marriage, but also the public image he had built with Melody. Before the scandal, they had been seen as one of the strongest couples on the show. The revelation of the affair changed that image dramatically. Instead of being viewed as a successful team, their relationship became an example of how quickly trust can collapse when honesty disappears. Looking back, some viewers believe the warning signs had always been present. Earlier episodes showed arguments and tension between Martell and Melody, but at the time, fans did not know the deeper reasons behind those conflicts. Once the truth came out, people began revisiting those moments and seeing them differently. Scenes that once seemed minor suddenly looked like clues pointing toward bigger problems happening behind the scenes. Eventually, Melody made the decision to end the marriage. Her divorce from Martell became one of the most significant moments connected to the show. It marked the end of a relationship that had once been central to the series. For many viewers, that moment represented closure. It was the point where Melody chose to prioritize her peace and her future, instead of continuing to fight for a relationship that had already been deeply damaged. After the divorce, Melody focused on building her own brand and expanding her career. She continued appearing on the show, but her role evolved into something different. Instead of being defined by the marriage, she began defining herself through her independence. Fans often celebrated her success and growth. Many people felt inspired by the way she turned a painful experience into motivation for building a stronger future. Meanwhile, discussions about Arionne never completely disappeared. Even years later, her name continues to appear in conversations whenever the topic of the scandal comes up. Supporters still argue that she should not carry all the blame for a relationship that involved two people. Critics respond by saying that the length of the relationship suggests she understood exactly what was happening. These different perspectives are part of what keeps the conversation alive. Reality television thrives on stories that spark debate, and this situation provided plenty of material for discussion. The phrases air mattress and BMW to Buick are examples of how viewers sometimes use humor or sarcasm to express their opinions. While the language can be exaggerated, it reflects the emotional investment many fans have in the story. At its core, the entire situation highlights how personal choices can affect many lives. A relationship that began privately eventually became a topic discussed by thousands of people online. Families were affected, reputations changed, and public perception shifted dramatically. The story also shows how reality television can turn real-life conflicts into ongoing public discussions. In another situation, the same events might have stayed within a small circle of people, but because cameras were involved and the story became part of a television series, it reached a national audience. That exposure changed everything. Every decision made by the people involved became part of a larger narrative followed by viewers. Some fans believe the biggest lesson from the situation is about accountability. They feel that everyone involved must take responsibility for their choices and accept the consequences. Others believe the focus should be on moving forward rather than continuing to revisit the past. From that perspective, holding on to old conflicts only prevents people from growing and finding peace. No matter which opinion someone holds, there is no denying that the story has left a lasting impact on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Even now, when new episodes air or cast members share updates about their lives, fans often return to the same questions about loyalty, trust, and the cost of betrayal. For Melody, the journey after the divorce became a story of rebuilding and empowerment. For Martell, the scandal reshaped the way many viewers see him. And for Arionne, the attention brought years of criticism and public scrutiny. The phrase BMW to Buick continues to appear in discussions because it symbolizes the gap between expectation and reality. Sometimes people imagine a certain outcome from their choices, only to discover that the reality looks very different. As viewers continue following the stories connected to the show, the situation involving Martell, Melody, and Arionne remains one of the most talked about chapters in its history. Every time the topic returns, audiences revisit the same questions. What really happened behind the scenes? Could things have been handled differently? And what lessons can people learn from the experience? Those questions are part of what keeps reality television conversations alive long after the original events take place. When viewers see real consequences unfolding in real lives, they become deeply invested in understanding every detail. In the end, the story serves as a reminder that relationships require honesty, trust, and respect. When those elements disappear, the consequences can affect not only the people directly involved, but also everyone around them. The situation continues to be discussed because it reflects issues that many people recognize in real life: loyalty, accountability, and the challenge of moving forward after betrayal. And as long as fans keep watching and discussing the show, the debate around these events will likely continue.